Alright guys, actually coming again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. OpTic Texas with a pretty disastrous weekend at Major 1 in Madrid. Nadeshot though says it's a very long season indeed. Thieves will not be happy either. They lost to FaZe in 2 round 11 search and destroys. Game 5 in the winners final. Game 7 in the grand final. Both occasions Thieves are gutted about it of course, but they have a long season ahead. They know that they're in a position to still capitalise, and OpTic know they are still the world champions in the most recent season. Nade says plenty more matches still to be played, but FaZe were looking difficult to beat, to say the very least, this past weekend. Very much on Twitter your thoughts on whether they will bounce back in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Speaking of OpTic, I thought this is a great tweet here from Money Cheed because, well, the Dallas Mavericks, of course, you guys I'm sure are very much aware of this amazing blockbuster trade, basically, with Luka Doncic going the way of the LA Lakers, and yeah, it's all going on. So the Mavs fans aren't very happy about it, obviously, and they're outside of the American Airlines Center in Dallas, in the heart of downtown Dallas, and on the left-hand side here behind this guy, this is where the OpTic HQ used to be. Obviously it was the Envy offices, then it was OpTic. Well, it was Envy, it was always kind of Envy, but it got rebranded to OpTic, and then they got rid of it, they went back to the headquarters. That's basically what has happened, and yeah, OpTic better come back from Madrid and see they turned the office into a Lucas shrine. We'll see about that. They no longer have that office, I don't believe. They no longer use it. This is also a big update. I was talking to Doug this weekend, and you know, honestly, I had a really great conversation with Doug, and gave me more of an insight into like the man behind all of the things that have happened over the last few years here. There's a great documentary coming out soon that Shawson's been putting together, but it was actually noted yesterday that Doug's pull-up record is gone. This guy, Truett Haynes, has taken it back. He used to have it. Doug obviously took the record for a good few months, and then this guy, Truett Haynes, is back in business. Now, I'm not 100% familiar with this individual or like the guys around that record, but like these are serious guys. And the fact that Doug's even in this conversation, I think, is very, very impressive, and a real, you know, and at the end of the day, records are meant to be broken, right? Did Doug ever expect his record to last forever? No. Always someone was going to come along and break it, and I think Doug proved in his record attempts that, you know, 10,000 was possible. Doug got pretty close to 10,000. He stopped at 9,250, but and this guy went to 10,000 and then did one more for good luck, I guess. So will Doug go for the record back? I don't think it takes anything away from Doug's achievements at all. And the record was always going to go at some point. It's been a major conversation point of the last couple of years, really, this record. And maybe Doug's going to go for it again. I think that's the question, right? Is Doug going to bounce? But I don't think he will. I think that Doug's happy with his achievement. And, you know, like he probably, could he break it if he wanted to? And Doug could take the record back, possibly. But, you know, I think he could. Whether he'd want to, unlikely. I imagine Doug's got other things that he wants to focus on going forwards. But, you know, tweet your thoughts in the comment section below. Of course, he's working with Boston now as well on their roster. And things have changed quite a lot, really, at Boston over the last season or so. Of course, Denz and Zed were over there making some decisions. That's now changed. And Doug is probably more in the decision-making wheelhouse, I guess, than he was previously. But even then, are they going to do much after this tournament? That's been the big debate, right? Because Snoopy and Purge, or just Purge, they're probably not going to go anywhere. The only way that I see it making sense to make a change is if you can get Pred. Now, I don't know if, to me, it doesn't feel like Boston are an organization that would be especially willing to do that. They could do it. I just think if I was signing Pred, I'd have lots of questions and I'd want lots of very relevant answers. And if you can give them to me, then sure, I'll bring you back in. But otherwise, like, you know, I'd want to know a little bit about that. Well, not a little bit. I'd want to know everything about the story as to why he got dropped from OpTic and want to corroborate some of these pieces of evidence. Whatever. It's a bit of an effort signing Pred, I think, right now. And there's maybe visa stuff to consider too. But would Snoopy and Pred be a pretty fire sub-duo? I kind of think so, right? I mean, Shotzzy and Pred worked. So Snoopy and Pred, okay, maybe Snoopy isn't quite Shotzzy, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like, Snoopy's arguably a top 10 player in the game right now, and this game suits him very well. So that's something I'd be thinking about. I think the other point for Boston is, right, that the ARs, it's not so clear what you do anymore, because we know that the AR in question really going into the event was Big Wake, but at the events, Big Wake played pretty well, and it was Cammy who had the very difficult map 5 against Cloud9, so, you know, who do you drop, if anyone? Does it make sense to? I don't think they will. I think they'll stick it out. I think that Boston know they're better than they played. Obviously, a frustrating way to lose in that manner. I mean, Boston will look at the tournament and saw Heretics coming top 3 and said, you know, that could well have been us. They also got pretty hard done by with the bracket, you know, playing FaZe first rounds. It's always tough. I think they're like, had Boston played OpTic on day 1, Boston probably win that series the way that OpTic played and the way that Boston played this weekend. Of course, you're never going to know. But, I think there was, obviously, if Boston had a different situation, if they were somehow the 8th seed, they might have done better this tournament, which is funny to think about. But sometimes that's just how it is. And you've got to beat the best teams if you want to be the best anyway. This, by the way, is the updated card. It seems like, look, we always had a rivalry on our hands, but it seems like after this event, we may have another, a rivalry on our hands, seriously, between Scrap and Drazah, because look, the drama's always going to be there between these two. It's probably not going away anytime soon. But in terms of event wins, Drazah now moves to 6 with 10 Grand Finals appearances. Scrappy can't match those numbers. And in terms of head-to-head, sure, Scraptil takes the cake, but it's not necessarily over just yet. It's 11-6 now all time. It's 1-1 in finals. It's 4-3 online, and it's now 7-3 on LAN. It used to be 7-1 before this tournament. So, yeah, big result from FaZe. Obviously, remarkably enough for Scrappy, both of these losses that took him to be 7-3 rather than 9-1 were in final map round 11 scenarios. So there's lots to talk about really from their perspective, from Thieves, on what they need to work on. Clearly it's their search and destroy they've got to be looking at going forwards, and just some of those critical moments from like a mental performance perspective could be valuable too. Now, speaking of Heretics, they came top 3 in a miraculous fashion really. I think that Super was probably very confident that he would be getting a spot after this tournament, but that's not how it's actually ended up being, right? So Super, one of the top Spanish players of the last few years, him and Rancor have been cooking really in challenges for the last couple of seasons. Super tends to play a main AR, so I thought if this tournament didn't go so well for Heretics, seeing Super in for Lucky made a lot of sense. Metals is a player that you won't see anywhere else in the league. This guy is insanely aggressive, and Metals is almost always either like double positive or double negative. There isn't that much in between with this guy. So he's not going anywhere though. Like, he's got enough talent. Real and Rancor have both been excellent for the team, and Lucky was actually very good this past weekend. So they're not going to make a change after coming top 3. That, I guess, is the bottom line. And Lucky was actually very composed, given that he's been a player who in the past I've criticized for being much better online than on LAN. This weekend, that was not the case. And look, you look at Miami's run and you say, okay, well, they beat OpTic, an OpTic that were pretty terrible this weekend to get to top 6. They then lost, of course, to Thieves in the upper side. That was actually a close series, though, the first series they played to Thieves. They dropped down to losers. They beat Rocker Game 5, Round 11, nearly getting full sail in the search and destroy the red card. And then they beat, a questionable Ravens team with Vivid, who had one eye, and, these other things. So it's not like, look, it was an impressive run from Miami. I'm not going to take that away from them. But still, there were still a gap between them and when they played Thieves, certainly for the second time. But it was still an impressive run. It's one of those runs that will save the team for maybe some time to come. But I think that there's still a good chance in due course that Super gets a chance in the roster. At the end of the day, this type of tournament, I think, from Heretics was coming, really. They are an impressive team to watch at times. They're unlike any other team to watch. I was talking to this with Benji on the podcast, on the watch party. Like, they make the game so difficult on themselves sometimes with the way that they set up the hills, with the way that they decide to break things. But they've got enough talent that sometimes it's just going to work. And that's what happened this weekend. And with the crowd behind them, it was honestly a great story. Super, though, will think, damn, like, it could have been me, but not going to be how it is for now. I imagine it would be Lucky for Super, hypothetically, but maybe they'll try it at some point. They're not opposed, Miami, to making adjustments in scrims, but you're going to make an adjustment after coming top 3. Pretty unlikely, I suppose. Couple of stats here to get into before I show a couple of clips, really, on the Nadeshot situation with OpTic. This is interesting always to keep your eyes on. The current tournament streak of a 1+ KD or 1.0+ KD+, whatever you want to say. Like, did you have a 1 KD or more? And this tournament, these are the streaks as it continues. Cellium is now on 25, Scrappy's on 8, Simp on 7, Gwinn at 5, Sib at 5 as well, actually, given that he had a horrible start to the season. That's maybe not impressive, but it's still reasonable enough. Beans at 5, Insight and Geo. But there are 2 guys that are separating themselves from the pack. This is a pretty crazy stat here, really, that HyDra has never had a negative event in his whole career. And it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. It's not like he had a spectacular tournament this time, HyDra, but he was still very good, I think, for the majority of the weekend, certainly in the respawn modes, of course. And Envoy, I think that applies to as well, to be honest. Brian Stats even says says that now he's had finals appearances in 6 out of his 7 seasons as a pro. Only Cold War, where I think OpTic Chicago that year topped out at top 3. But still, the fact that Envoy's made a finals basically every year he's competed has been pretty memorable, I think, for him. And yeah, HyDra, Ghosty and Scrappy have now had finals appearances in every single year of their career, and I'm sure there is more to come the rest of the season. But I wanted to show a couple of clips here, really, because Nadeshot, after he'd recovered from the frustration of losing in the way that Thieves did in the Game 7 round 11, he was very proud of the team, the progress they've made, the work they've put in, and the potential that they showed going forwards. But also he gave his thoughts on OpTic, right? Because they dropped out of the tournament relatively early on. It was a tournament where, apart from Huke actually played pretty well. He had like a 1.08. Kenny, Shotzzy, and Dashy all had in the 0.85 plus 0.9 kind of ballpark, which was, yeah, very surprising for a team of OpTic's caliber. But it's a tournament. I mean, look, FaZe came top 6 at last year's World Championship. They bounced back and they've dominated basically since then. And maybe that's not, we'll see, in December it was a different story, but you know what I'm saying, right? So, as Nadeshot says, it was a strange one for the team, but it was only a couple of weeks ago we were talking about FaZe maybe needing to blow it up, right? Because they were struggling in scrims, you know, they were getting beaten by challenger teams. Like, let's not forget when, you know, they were getting beaten like 6-2, 7-2 in scrims by challenger teams. And then FaZe have just come out and completely flipped a switch into the start of the new year. So it's absolutely not impossible another team could do it as well.
We didn't hoist the trophy, we didn't win the tournament, but our guys played unbelievable Call of Duty, man. I mean, you want to talk about going down to the wire. Round 11, 2 series in a row, winners finals, drop down to losers finals, beat the out of Miami Heretics, and then get the beaten out of us in round 11s in Search and Destroy, bro. But I'm telling you, man, our guys gave us a taste of what to expect for the rest of the year. We know that they can play at the highest level. We know that they can win if we clean a couple things up. It's a damn shame that we didn't win that round 11. Oh, man, that one's going to give me some fucking nightmares for a long time, and I'm sure it's going to do the same for the players. But hopefully that'll be adding fuel to the fire for the future, man. Man, that just takes your breath away, bro. That's just a tough way to lose, man. Congratulations to FaZe. Words can't describe how proud I am of 100 Thieves and LA Thieves and the way the boys played this weekend, man. They played so fucking well, and I know that one's gonna hurt, but we got a long season ahead and plenty of opportunity to show them and show you guys that they can win with this roster and be champions, bro. What do you think happened to OpTic? I think they just came out flat, bro. This is sometimes how it happens, man. Couldn't win a hard point. Something was wrong. Individually, nobody really played that well. It's kind of how it goes, man. Sometimes the boys just wake up on the wrong side of the bed at the wrong time, and I think they're all right. I think they'll be fine. Just kind of a bad break. Just didn't bring their A game for the tournament, and it's tough, bro. You don't really play that many matches anymore at the majors, so you don't really have a lot of time to get your feet underneath you again if you're a little off balance.
What I will say, a lot of people were asking, like, yo, you need a team change. You need to bring Pred back. You need to care more the way that Nadeshot cares more. And I said, my bro Nate is gonna handle the he handles the way. Listen, I've been around since 2005. Ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. We just won a world championship, guys. We need a little bit of adversity so that we can enjoy those wins a little bit more. That's at least what I tell myself, to keep my head up.
Yeah,
I texted the boys. I said, head up, come home, get back at it again.
How long do you sit here and let someone like me just wither away, though?
What do you mean?
Like, at what point do you look at my untapped potential and be like, it's time, we need you?
He's so stupid, man.
That's as you know, that is not my call.
He's so stupid, man.
So I still think OpTic can be confident about the way their series or their season can potentially go. They've not looked great so far. Obviously online they were the #1 seed there. They went 6-1. The major was a very different story, and they will have to really dig in as to why and what they might need to change to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Because unfortunately for OpTic, it doesn't really matter what happens now online going into upcoming Major 2 qualifiers and even the minor there. The fans will not be convinced by this roster until they turn up to LAN and until they deliver a very strong performance. So very much interested in your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.